Well, welcome to Weather to Watch. This video comes out about every other day or so, and literally it means the weather that's worth watching. And so the headlines would be another cold blast of air moving into the northern plains into the Ohio Valley. That's forecast to come in here later in the weekend, while the west remains mild. And there will be several little snow bands in the cold air, and we'll review that as well. Hello, I'm meteorologist Ted Keller, and I usually start Weather to Watch by looking at the visible satellite loop. This was on Monday afternoon. A couple of features here. You can see high-level clouds just kind of grazing into the northwest here. Montana, Wyoming, back to Oregon and Washington. Looks like a storm system is developing here, and there's another one here. Let's see if we can verify that by looking at the 500 millibar flow. I just overlay that on top of the last satellite image, and it provides pretty good correlation generally between nice weather and bad weather. And the way to interpret this is when these red lines, these are height lines of the 500 millibar pressure surface. That doesn't really mean much beyond the idea that the winds are generally flowing along these lines and in between them. So that's all you really need to know about that. This is a long wave trough. So that's where, the size of a continent or a country. You can kind of see how they all kind of dip down. And then embedded in that, oftentimes you have these little short waves like this one over Nashville. Another one here behind the word flow. Even another one there right around Chicago. And then the ridge of high pressure is out here over the west. You can see some fog into the afternoon hours in the Central Valley of California. That's what that little white blob is right there. And so let's see, take a look at the surface conditions here. This is kind of a nice thing to look at. High pressure sitting just off to the east of Buffalo. This is model data, so it's not the actual position, but it's going to be pretty close. So the high pressure area is moving away. A ridge of high pressure is where these lines kind of extend like that. And this is the return flow side of the high. So a warm front leads the charge into the Dakotas. We have a developing low pressure area up here. A lot of that's behind the word temperature, still developing. And we have a low off the shore there near Bermuda with a cold front extending into southern Florida. If you're wondering, with all this cold air here, so the colors are temperature, if there's any snow in that, you bet there is. And let's do an update on that. Well, this is the NAM model. It's a shorter range model, runs out 84 hours, and this is the way the map is supposed to look at noon tomorrow, which would be Tuesday. Low pressure just coming down from Canada into North Dakota. Now, these are clipper systems. If you've been watching my show for a while, you know we've been talking about these, and we've had quite a few of these, and they're very popular in the winter, especially when you have a ridge of high pressure out west, like I just showed you, and generally a trough in the east. These little clipper systems come along, and you can see the blue is snow, the green is rain, probably pretty intuitive. This is a little bit of freezing rain, but because it's moving so fast, I don't think the freezing rain is going to cause a whole lot of problems. And one of the reasons they're called clipper systems is because of the speed in which they move. It kind of gets its name from clipper ships, in small ships, wind-driven ships that would move very fast. That's where the terminology comes from. So now we just moved ahead to 6 p.m. Tuesday, and the arrow indicates where it moved to, so right around Fargo. And then look at this, already by midnight, this thing has traveled all the way to right around Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And so the blue is snow once again. So obviously that's going to lay down some pretty good snows. Let's take a look at this in two parts here. First of all, we've got, if you see the purple color, that's 6 inches of snow, so a half foot of snow in a large swath. Probably the largest city in that would be Duluth and maybe Eau Claire. Those areas, Rhinelander right there. But we can switch views too and shift east to take a look at more of Wisconsin. And it does look like Rhinelander will pick up about 7.5 inches of snow. Now, this is not model data. This is the National Weather Service forecast for each of these points. It kind of takes the necessity to convert this 10-to-1 ratio idea and talk about that. This is the Weather Service and what they've already done the work for you. So that's what's nice about this. And also some of this in Michigan is lake effect snow. You can see those darker purple colors. And so what we have here is a winter storm warning in these areas north of Minneapolis, and winter weather advisory surrounding these little pockets, which is very, very common. This is actually a winter storm watch here in this part of Wisconsin. And, when I record these, sometimes the Weather Service offices haven't filled in all their counties yet. So you can kind of fill in the gaps here and maybe say that this area around Duluth might be under a winter storm warning. Maybe they revised it before after I record this, I should say. So just keep that in mind. We also have a little bit of lake effect snow still going on there in Erie and Buffalo. We have 2 3-inch totals. This is all through noon Wednesday. And then this little band here that I showed you on the satellite image earlier, and it's connected with some winter weather warnings and advisories. Richmond on South Virginia, winter storm warning, and also the mountains of West Virginia, including Charleston, West Virginia, and winter weather advisories surrounding that. Now, if I take a look at the 3 to 7 day forecast, there is some heavy snow showing up in Montana around the 11th through the 12th. This actually goes from the 11th through the 15th. This is actually the cold that we're going to get into more here in just a minute, and then some heavy snows and heavy precipitation in parts of Washington as well. And then going out even longer now, December 16th through the 22nd. So we're getting close to Christmas, but nothing is really showing up for slight risk for snow hazard that really isn't just a mountainous area. So again, kind of hard to say if that really defines the possibility of a white Christmas here. There really isn't. It's just too far out to be able to know that for sure. I can review where the snow cover is. Here it is right now. And so this is 36% coverage on the lower 48 states as of today. And a lot of this is just not mountain snow. There's a separate little batch of snow right there. And you can see a couple of storms laid this down. 3, actually, over the last couple of weeks helped to contribute to this area right here especially. And the depths are looking like this. So you're looking at, 9 to 19 inches of snow through still parts of Iowa. A little bit of a snow hole there in the Dakotas and parts of Minnesota, but that's going to be filled in by what I just showed you, of course. And the mountain snows are doing well, so all the ski lovers are very, very happy. Let's take a look at the temperature trends. Well, now we'll go to Tuesday. So I'm recording this on Monday, so this is for tomorrow. So we're looking at the numbers are high temperatures for that area there in Kansas, well into the 60s. I live in Springfield. We're forecasting 56, so a big improvement in temperature. Meanwhile, the cold is in the eastern U.S., and for at least for now, it's above normal temperatures in the northern plains. The reds are where it's above normal the most. Then we go ahead to Thursday. You can start to see one blast of cold air behind that Clipper system. That's the one that's going to lay down the snow. So highs only around 24 degrees in Chicago, 14 in Minneapolis, and also in Duluth. Meanwhile, Denver will be a balmy 62, Colorado Springs 64 degrees, and very, very warm in Texas and through much of the West. Then the hammer drops for this coming weekend. Saturday, we have a high of 2 in Minneapolis and a high that fails to reach 0 in Fargo, -1 on Saturday. So that's a pretty serious thrust of cold air there, but still balmy out west, not really affected by this at all. Again, ridge of high pressure aloft, trough of low pressure here. Short waves help to dig out the cold air and lay down the snow. If you look at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, this begins on this coming Sunday and goes through Thursday. Again, this same area is being targeted as high confidence of above normal temperatures, below normal, I should say, with the blue colors, and then high confidence of above normal temperatures out west. And I showed you to you about a week or so ago, but I'll go ahead and show you the official December forecast for temperatures. Last couple of slides here. And while it is forecast to be cool in those areas, we've already have been cool and will be cool. And warm in the south. I do want to point out that the precipitation forecast, so if it's cold here, you might say a lot of snow. That could be, and those Clipper systems typically don't lay it down a lot, but you'll notice that the precipitation outlook doesn't match. So this, you can kind of interpret this as, generally speaking, the moisture from the south is going to get shunted off this way that would normally come up from the Gulf of America, and then Montana has an above normal bullseye there, but that doesn't necessarily equate to rain or snow. Again, this is an entire month's forecast, so you have to average it all together. But if it's looking dry, it does look as if maybe snows in the Midwest and the Great Plains may be a little lacking, but all it really takes is one pattern change before Christmas, obviously, and one storm track to change that completely. Again, way too far out to be able to talk about that with any kind of certainty at all. But I will start talking about it maybe on Wednesday and certainly by the end of the week. Have a good day. Thanks for watching this edition of Weather to Watch. It comes out every other day, or as the weather necessitates. Please remember to share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, or at the very least, like what you just watched. Thanks.